still not boiling, but it's going to start boiling, so I'm going to put some cats in there. Sun still hasn't set, Willie. It's still bright outside.
Tell us, Ted, on this day, the 5th of the 6th.
7.
Ted, give us a bit of history about yourself, will you? On this day of the 7th of the 6th, 02. Your background and how you came to be in this line of work or whatever you want to call it. Give us a little bit of history about yourself, will you?
Okay, welcome to wildbeings.com. My name is Ted Cook. William Southard and myself are both promoting this website. The emphasis really is on wild beings or wildlife. The totality, as Thomas Lovejoy would call it, of all organisms or cell-based creatures, anything that has breath, bar livestock, cats, dogs, our own species, humans. My interest is in the lichens and the bacterial, early fungal, algal life, and in the evolution, as Carson would say, from the seaweeds to the higher plants.
How did you come to get this great love of nature? Where would you say it came from? What part in your background can you identify with?
I suppose because I practice a meditation which is based partly on the breath. Perhaps it's through that, William, that I automatically relate to anything that has the breath in it. It's the same breath, the same power that moves the atom moves me and you. We're here in Kilbarry, Townland, Macroom, the town, North Cork, which is north of West Cork in the Republic of Ireland. We're near the Atlantic Ocean. It's an old stone house, slated. It's about 80 years old, this house. It was thatched originally, and now it's got stone slate. There's a couple of acres with the house that I was very lucky when it was affordable. 21 years ago next week, I bought the property. And what has happened here is I've started tree nursing. I have a number of tree nursery systems, different models going on. My focus is on the native trees and shrubs of Ireland, the native flora, the indigenous, and the endemic. I'm also interested, of course, in the sweet chestnut, the evergreen oak, the 3 forms of lime, one of which is indigenous to Britain. I like beech, copper beech, horse chestnut. I'm growing some monkey puzzles, but these are exotics. These were introduced by man. My main interest is in the biodiversity that made it to Ireland before the erosion of the last of the land bridges, possibly between Antrim in the north of Ireland and the Stacks and Hebridean islands onto Scotland. Land's End would have been connected to the south of Ireland down Wexford, Waterford way. So we have 7 bats in Ireland. Britain has 15. As you go further towards the epicentre, should we call the hothouse of Africa, where all life flows from, you end up with as many as 700 plus bats. So we have quite a low biodiversity. In terms of quantity, quite low. We have 26 native trees. Britain has close to 40. We have 817 vascular flowering plants. Britain would have so much more. So it's the this period has been called the period of the fifth great extinction. We have had 4 extinctions in the history of the planet, and we're now living in what Rackham calls the locust years, when man, like a drunken elephant, is tearing through this ancient museum. So I would be very sensitive to the needs of wild beings on that basis.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm visiting a school, I would appeal to the teachers and children not to step willfully on the beetle, the louse, the earwig, to respect all the life in all its forms is the message I try and bring to the primary and secondary. And it's a central theme when I'm working with adult education, really. I try and start with the notion of symbiosis, how 2 or more creatures live interdependently. You could call it a mutual dependence, a mutual...
How do you, sorry for interrupting you, Teddy, how do you bring law into what you do? You have a history back in law yourself, so you're well up in the old Irish law regarding the where they looked after the land, and if you broke certain laws you were severely punished.
Yes.
So just interested to try and get you to bring the two together, or how you see the two are very important.
Oh, yes.
In today, equally as important.
Very important.
Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes. An area that I focused on when I did my solicitor's apprenticeship in the early 70s, which is 30 years ago, an area I focused on was, in fact, the Brehon law, the indigenous law code or social codes of what's called the Brehon law, best described as belonging to very remote antiquity. There are elements in the old Irish law that connect us with the northern Himalayas. The woodland is classified into 4 classes: the lords, the nobles, the princes and the bushes. You find that in the northern Sanskritic regions of Himachal Pradesh. The Irish alphabet, all 18 letters, are pronounced after a tree or shrub. You find that in parts of the old Teutonic alphabet, and it is also found in parts of South America. Primitive alphabets are based and pronounced after important plants. So the Irish for D is dar, oak. The Irish for oo or U is ur, the yew tree. The Irish for birch is be, pronouncing B, be, D, dar, U, ur, and so forth. So, as Mary McAleese stated not long ago, we are a woodland people. We still lived on the verge of the wood long after the Angles, the Normans, the Saxons, the Teutons, the Franks, long after they had left the verge of the forest and were openly hunting and gathering, and later with the Neolithic period, farming and forest clearing. In Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, Galicia in Spain, and in Brittany, we still lived on the verge of the wood. So our crafts were essential and deeply tied in with woodland management. Something that is very close to my way of thinking. So while I am a tree nurse and an organic grower with a huge interest in Rudolf Steiner's biodynamic philosophy, anthroposophy, in a sense I've tied these in closely with the definitions of sustainability as clearly set out in the Brehon legal code. We didn't have an Aldi or a Super Value down the road. We had cattle, collective grazing rights. In the Brehon law, the number 7 continually creeps up. There were 7 sacred grains, the order of the 7 sacred cereal grains, from the bread wheat down to the wild oat. You find in old Gaelic society the 7 classes. In the primitive church in Ireland, before Rome came with Henry II in 1169, in the Aboriginal church, we had 7 classes of prelate or ecclesiastic. The last major overhaul of the Brehon law was in the late 5th century by a committee of 9 appointed by St. Patrick. And the Brehon law was cleansed or purged of anything that clashed with early Christian ideas. It would be very interesting to see what the pre-reform Brehon Code entailed. Certainly, well into the late medieval period, we venerated trees in Ireland. There was a class of people called the Druid. Drí in Irish magic, Driocht, and Dar, the oak, put together, Druid. They essentially worshipped water. They were a priestly caste that were taken in tow and under the protection of the Celtic Iron Age peoples in their move across Hungary and Eastern Europe on their way out to the last of the European landmass, which is Ireland, and more so the west of Ireland. Of course, Patrick was very sore on the Druidic race. They didn't assimilate, they didn't integrate with the Celts, they didn't intermarry. They were in charge of the rituals, the rites of passage. You know, at puberty, we see in the Aborigine people, in the Native American people, there's ritual and ceremony and a little bit of pomp for all the different phases, the hormonal windows in our development within one human lifetime. Today you could say it's the bar mitzvah, the confirmation and so forth. But there was a law in this island, certainly up to the 1560s, 1570s, that was in practice. The people loved the law because, of course, the Brehons were a class that came out from the people, and the law was based on the entirety of all natural resources. Brehon law, while we search with Brundtland, Dr. Brundtland, and in the Rio de Janeiro definitions and indicators for sustainability, my website is based on re-evaluating the Brehon Code and the severity of the penalties under